Good evening, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Bhakti Community. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to our program today, Bhakti On, where we continue our Boxing with the Mind series. And today is session number 10. Tune your mind to goodness, rise above the inner storm, and return to where clarity lives. With our speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. He had been to a spiritual retreat in India, and we are really glad that he's back and enlighten us. Welcome back, Vaish, to another episode of Bhakti On. Yeah, we are getting better at it.
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be back here. Great to see you all. Thank you very much for joining tonight. And yes, we only have one mind, and it's the clearinghouse for everything we collect from the outside world through our senses. And therefore, taking time to have a place for everything and everything in its place when it comes to the mind is advisable. But sticking to the metaphor of boxing, one has to be prepared. It's not that the mind just automatically is tuned. We also have to take some effort. And that's what I'll be talking about tonight, but I'll also give some foundational points from the ancient wisdom literatures about what tuning the mind means or how it can be tuned in the first place. Before I do that, it'd be interesting to hear if anybody's here for the first time, or if anybody's brought a guest and wants to introduce somebody.
Sure. So, anyone here? Go ahead, Charles, please. After a long time, is welcome too. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, JM. Yes, we have Fabian on the line. She's here with us. Fabian is awesome person. I'm so excited that she's joining us today.
Hey, Vaven, thanks for joining. Where are you tuning in from?
Thank you for having me. I'm from Houston. I'm in Houston right now.
Great. I was just down there recently.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. It's fantastic. Thanks for being here.
Super excited to be here.
Welcome, Fabian, and thanks, Charles, for the introduction. Anyone else here for the first time or returning after a long time? Both are welcome. Go ahead, Nam.
We have a few guests from Australia today. So we have Phil. Welcome, Phil. It's his first time here.
Thank you. Thanks. Good to be here.
And we also have Sarah Louise, who's joining for the first time on Bhakti Community. And just check. We also have Pratna, who's come here for the first time. Yeah, I hope I haven't missed any.
Thanks for joining everybody. Great to have you all.
Go ahead, Vicky.
I wanted to introduce and welcome Lisa. She's a professor of social services at UC Hayward. Recently committed to Bhakti on Monday evening by moving the schedule around.
Welcome, Professor Lisa. Thank you for moving your schedule around so that you can accommodate and attend Bhakti Community. We are really grateful and thanks. Thank you for joining us today. If you are able to say hi, I would love to hear from you. I know it does show you are unmute, but for some reason we at least I'm not able to hear. looks like a technical glitch. But yeah, whenever you can, we'd love to hear from you, Lisa. Just come on, unmute and say hi. Thank you, Vicky, for introducing Lisa. And now I just want to check all the contingent from Australia. They are all from Melbourne, local, or?
No, so
we have
Phil is
Phil is
South
South
Australia,
Australia,
and Sarah
Sarah
Louise
Louise,
partner are in Melbourne,
Melbourne,
and we
Okay.
also have
have
joining again. She is not in Melbourne. She's traveling around Australia, so she's somewhere. If you'd like to say hello, Virginia, I'm not sure where you are right now, but she's been here before. She's coming back.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
Thanks for joining, Virginia.
Hello, Krishna. I can also say hello. I'm based in Melbourne and I'm a Chintamani, and I've attend the same Bhakti Center. And yeah, I'm sorry my camera's off, but I'm really happy to be here. I've just been hosting a sage group through the Wisdom of the Sages. So I now have a couple of things to attend to before I go to work. So I'll be just listening.
Great. Thanks a lot for joining. Now you're on mute, JM.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I was just checking, was there anyone else here for the first time?
Yeah, so I'm Phil. This is my first time here. Recently, I did 6-week volunteer stay at Krishna Village near Mawulumbar. And that's sort of what has kickstarted me to get involved with these talks and, yeah, keep me in line.
All right, Phil, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'll also quickly introduce myself. I'm attending for the first time. My name is Prarthana, and I am in Melbourne. I'm coming here through Nama Chintamani's reference, and she and I met at the temple here in Melbourne ISKCON. So that's how I got to know. So I'm doing some work, so I'll be definitely listening to it. I'm quite excited to be here for the first time. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Prarthana. Great to have you here.
Josh should posted on chat that he's also first time here, but he's driving.
Great. Drive safely, please.
Okay, I think that will be all for today. For now, at least. Maybe people might still joining.
Okay. So our discussion over several weeks, months, in the topic of boxing with the mind is in line with several of the ancient wisdom literatures. Bhagavad Gita, for instance. In the Bhagavad Gita, the teacher, Krishna, speaks about how the mind can become a friend, or it can mislead us. It's a matter of how we tend to the mind. And especially in the Bhagavad Gita, the mind is conditioned by various modes. This is the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, that there are 3 primary modes or modalities that rule the material world. And they're very powerful. They're described as ropes. They can bind us in various ways. That's why sometimes it feels like we're bound up in certain kinds of habits, ways of thinking, ways of acting, so forth. But one of the reasons that Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita and that there are other instructions, for instance, in the Yoga Sutras, in which the author, Patanjali Muni, goes to great lengths to describe the workings of the mind and how to, as he puts it, calm the churnings of the mind. The vrittis, a vrit means to turn, so the mind's constantly turning. How to bring it to a stage where it can become an instrument so that we can perceive ourselves. And when we talk about self in context of the Bhagavad Gita and other such literatures, there's a distinction between the material body that we inhabit and us as the living force within the body that literally animates the body. The living force is consciousness, whereas the body's not conscious. The mind is one of the senses. It's called the sense within. And all the senses that we are aware of on our bodies, there are knowledge gathering senses. This is the taxonomy of the Bhagavad Gita. And then there are working senses. Included in the working senses are the arms, legs, the digestive system, etc. And then knowledge gathering, what would you say? Most of them are grouped around the head. You can use the chat box. The brain is called the mind or the sense within. What are the knowledge gathering senses? Eyes, ears, nose. Yeah. The eyes right now, we're taking information in. Ears, we hear, take in data. Nose, these are knowledge gathering. There's also sense of touch. And all these feed their information into the mind. So there's a conglomeration, clusters of information that come into the mind. Now, when the mind is in the mode of sattva, which is the highest mode, then we can see things in proper proportion. What's more, we can see ourselves. This is one of the features of sattva, or the highest modality that we can bring the mind to. It's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the postgraduate study of the Bhagavad Gita, Sattvam yad Brahma darshanam. Darshana means to see, and sattva means this modality of clarity. And Brahma means to see the consciousness, which is categorically different from matter, which is what the material body is made of: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then mind, intelligence, and ego. These are gross and subtle elements. But there's a hierarchy in the Bhagavad Gita describing how lowest of all are the senses. Above the senses is the mind. Above the mind is the intellect, also called the buddhi. And above all those, which are material apparati, is the living force. The Atma means the self that animates the body. Once the Atma leaves the body, then it starts to disintegrate. And along with the Atma, there's also the Paramatma. So para means superior. So if you've ever noticed that you're given information when you're searching for it as a gift, it comes from a higher source, which is Paramatma, the supreme consciousness. And so there's two Atmas within every body. There's a regular Atma and a supreme Atma. Now, when we have sattva, when we've cultivated sattva, which is the point of my talk, is cultivation. It means there's something to do, but there are amendments to be made that we can make in our lives that help us cultivate sattva. And when the mind becomes clear, then we're able to understand the difference between us and the body. What might be some of the benefits of that? Well, when I'm absorbed in what is called bodily consciousness, this is described in the same book I mentioned before, the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's called the Bini Beshita. This means that my main awareness is of my body. And I identify myself as a body. So for instance, if you asked a cat, who are you? The cat might say, I'm a cat. And if you asked a dog, who are you? The dog would say, I'm a dog. If you asked somebody walking down the street in San Francisco, who are you? He or she might say, I'm an American. If we're in Melbourne, somebody might say, I'm an Australian. But according to the Bhagavad Gita, we're none of these things. These are what are called artificial designations. We are temporarily in a body. So if somebody asks you, how old are you? And you say, well, I'm 40 or I'm 28, that's incorrect. Your body's that age. And the conscious being within the body is ageless because, big surprise, it doesn't die. It's always existed. So there's no sense of for the living force, which is an eternal unit of consciousness. And it's not something that comes and goes. It's not been manufactured. It's always existed, always will exist. It's a great relief to know that, because the trauma one feels while in this body and identifying with it is that of the changes that take place within the body. And then, of course, there's what's called transmigration, when we leave a present physical body and we get accommodated with another body. So when we say, apparently, euphemistically, somebody passed away, that's actually accurate. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Kramantam stitam vapi. Stita means you are situated in one place. You're standing in a physical body, but then ut means out, and krama means step. You stepped out. If someone came to Namachintamani's house and said, is she home? Someone might say, well, she stepped out because she's no longer in the house. And so the body is also a house. It's a dwelling. And the living force, after the physical body's usefulness has expired, there's a lifespan we get called ayu. Means that along with your birth, you get designated lifespan. Only problem is we don't know what that is. Nonetheless, the trepidation we feel that I'm here today, I may be gone tomorrow, is illusory because we're always here. We always have been here. But we're subjected to different states of consciousness while we're in this body. It's described how we have awakened consciousness, which we're hopefully in right now, as we're aware that we exist and we're talking to one another. At least I'm talking to you. And there's also a state of consciousness that we experience pretty much every day, which is when we sleep. If you think about it right now, that's a very distinct kind of awareness compared to, it's distinct from the consciousness we're experiencing right now. We dream. And then there's kind of deep sleep without dreaming, where we're conscious of nothing, although we're still conscious. And then when we wake up in the morning, we realize that, oh, I was dreaming, now I'm awake. And so we cycle while we're in this body through different states of consciousness, but they're more than that. Even while we're awake, we may be in different stages of consciousness. And those who study brain patterns notice that the brain has different waves according to the state of consciousness one is in. Incidentally, I read somewhere recently that scrolling puts one in a consciousness that is nearly identical to being anesthetized. And Patanjali Muni similarly, before measuring brain waves through with modern instruments, by the astute observation of prolonged meditation, cataloged the different stages of the mind. And the mind can be in distracted state, can be in a bored state, it can be in an awakened state and aware of its own nature. We can become conscious that we're consciousness. In fact, that can be done through introspection. We could, at any time that we choose, if we have time, and that's one of the problems, we don't take the time. In the modern age, there's always somewhere else to go, something else to look at externally. But if we take time to notice our own consciousness, we'll notice that we can objectify the emotions and the thought patterns that come through our minds, and we can note them, which means we're the observer of those. So what the Bhagavad Gita says is very practical when it comes to working with the mind, which again, I'll remind all of us that in the Gita, Krishna says something that we can note, and that is the mind can be the friend or the enemy. And if you've ever noticed if you've ever been in a situation where the mind became an enemy by perhaps being overwrought about a situation, and maybe it's, for instance, resentful. We may feel resentment. And although the situation that caused us some minor trauma or major has passed, the mind resends that image. That's why it's called resentment. You keep resending it, pushing the button again and again, and the experience comes back and we observe it over and over again. Modern psychology studies the patterns of the mind, finds ways, those who are therapists try to help people observe them and find ways to reasonably come out of those traumatic states. So in the Gita, Krishna says sattva is a mode of nature, which is everywhere, but we have to cultivate it because it's always mixed with the two lower modes, which are rajas and tamas. Rajas is the active mode, and in that mode, there's always something more to do. Let's just say you get a windfall, somebody gives you some money, and let's say it's $100. And then the Rajas mind says, well, why can't I put a couple more zeros on that to make it $10,000 instead? And whatever situation we're in, when we're in Rajas, there's the conception that there must be a promotion somewhere. I have to go to the next level and find the next thing because I'm not satisfied. Sattva, in sattva, we feel we can observe ourselves that we're in a body, we're the living force within the body. There's a kind of bliss that's there in observing the fact that we exist, just the fact that we exist. We can sense that I don't need anything else because as a conscious being, I'm always here. So why would I need to go anywhere else or attain something else? So the lowest mode, then Krishna mentions, is tamas. And tamas is dark mode. It is characterized by self-destructiveness. It's irrational. Depression, self-destruction, destructive behavior. So what causes these? Looks like Jam's going to put on some slides. What causes these states? Well, it's the way that we organize our lives. So that's the good news. Well, congratulations, everybody, for being a human being, because we have some volition and we have some wiggle room when you get to the human form of life. It's harder when you're starting in lower modes like tamas, because in tamas it's almost like you can't get up. Have you ever had jet lag and you really want to get up, but you just can't? It's almost like an intravenous drug was introduced into your brain. And then it's like, there's an awareness that, yeah, I'm here, but I can't get up. People can feel like that actually when they're in tamas. They just can't move. They can't achieve anything. There are certain kinds of drugs that bring one into tamas, where one feels um, it's sort of dreamy and maybe with some idea, but one can't execute it. So let's go through a few slides now that I've given a preamble to what I'm going to talk about. And first off, we give this title, Tune Your Mind to Goodness. And this idea of tuning is apt because, and this is still slightly philosophical, but the way that the ancient Vedas, so they're called the ultimate wisdom literatures that talk about everything, describe how the universe is formed. It comes from, or it's made out of vibration. And this is very much parallel to the ways in which modern science talks about matter. It's vibrational. In fact, some physicists have said that the combined vibrations of the universe are like a symphony. And so tuning, which means sound, music, and things like that, often we think of that when we talk about tuning, is something that's prevalent in the process of bhakti. Bhakti yoga emphasizes sound vibration to bring the mind to higher states. Interesting. I've seen recently how animals are attracted to music. Hear music and they'll come running to the person who's playing a piano or violin or guitar or something like that and want to be there. It's universally attractive. So in slide 3, as a review, sattva gives clarity. It gives a sense of detachment because our perspective is that I'm already enough. I don't have to become something else. I already am something. So there's not that urgency to improve something because one can be in a state of appreciation for what one already is. And that engenders a sense of detachment because what is there to attain? Of course, that doesn't mean one becomes ineffectual and doesn't move. That would be tamas or darkness. But in sattva, one can have what's called enlightened engagement with the world because, and you may have experienced this before, that when you're detached, you're much more effective at interacting with the world. It's like when you've had a full meal and you're satisfied, then you go shopping and you don't buy unnecessary things. So clarity, detachment, and equanimity. That's a powerful concept, equanimity. It means we're equal in any circumstance. I mean, we all go through, are exposed to various circumstances. We could say we find ourselves in various circumstances, and some of them seem objectionable, some of them seem favorable. But to those in sattva, they're equal. They don't become disturbed by the dualities like hot and cold. In fact, there's an interesting, if you come back into the room just for a sec, there's an interesting phrase in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna's talking about the mind in sattva, the mind that's been cultivated and is found equanimity. He says a person sees pebbles, stones, and gold as the same. Now, who sees pebbles, stones, and gold as the same? If you see gold, you think like that's valuable, and the other things are let's winnow those out and keep the gold. But a person who's observing the world sees it categorically as one thing, a combination of matter in different forms. But the mind that's equipoised doesn't become overly, but it just stays the same because it's satisfied. So that's equanimity. And it's one of the ways that throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about how you can observe yourself and see how you can stay in a state of balance, despite the fact that there are disturbances around you. There may be cause for agitation, but if you don't become agitated, then your mind is in sattva. It's in that state of balance. So that can be cultivated. And then let's look at rajas. These pictures are meant to be representative. And then there's some description about the state of rajas. There's some distortion in rajas. And part of that distortion comes from identification with not with myself as the living force in the body, but as my body. That's a distortion because I'm not my body. I'm an inhabitant of the body. And so I see the world in a distorted way. I think some things are mine and some things belong to other people. And therefore, I have attraction to some things and repulsion for other things. Then attachment to material objects, which is synonymous with what I just said, and perplexity. There's a sense of perplexity that comes in when we're in rajas or tinged by rajas to the degree that we are. And I also mentioned that it's the impetus for action, like for improvement, creation, something, make something more. Let's just talk about these two modalities for a second. Come back into the room, and have you noticed these symptoms anywhere in yourselves or in other place in others or in the environments that you're in? Hyper or frenetic activity is the characteristic of rajas. Sort of peacefulness, detachment, equanimity is sattva. Okay. Do you identify with any of these states of consciousness in yourself? Do you see sometimes you feel more in sattva, sometimes tinged by rajas, sometimes totally rajas? Any thoughts? Okay, Krishna said rajas every day at work. Can you explain that? What do you mean? Like, what are the characteristics that you notice? Specifics are interesting. Give us some specifics.
There'll be constant deadlines and constant striving, so there will be constant stress and anxiety, and there will be attachment to result as opposed to sattva, where I should be satisfied and detached and do things methodical but dispassionately. But because I am in that environment where everybody is, and myself including, we are very passionate to get to the deliverables and come to the results and give the results. That's why I think it's more rajasic.
Yeah. Nice observation. I, I think it's a lyric from a song that some heard years ago. It stuck with me. Too much is not enough. You get too much and it's still not enough. That's rajas. Charles.
Oh, thank you. Such a wonderful talk. I'm enjoying this a lot. Um, yeah, it seems to me, it seems self-evident that, you know, I should want to avoid the state of rajas, avoid tamas, and be in a sattvic state. But if I'm being honest, there are many times where, if I have a lot of things to do, um, there are a lot of times where I start off in, I think, a Tomastic state, and it's only until like I start getting into the things I need to do, checking things off my to-do list, or doing a lot of activity, and once I complete those things, do I feel like somewhat at ease. But it doesn't seem like it seems like a cycle that just perpetuates itself and is only like a temporary solution. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that experience and shed some light on on that experience.
It's an astute observation and an important question. And I'm sure we can all relate to that, what you're saying. And it's not that we can avoid tamas or rajas or even sattva for that matter. We're in that pool and those modalities are there. And just as you were mentioning, there are different times of day that how could we do without tamas? Because how are you going to go to sleep? And it's a time when you need to rest. So sattva, rajas, and tamas are also, as long as we're embodied in a and we're in this body, we have to take advantage of those. But what Krishna recommends in the life of yoga is to regulate. If you, for instance, if you sleep too much or sleep too little, he says that's not good. He says yuktahara viharasya. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Yukta swapnasa bodhasa. Don't sleep too much and don't sleep too little. If you sleep too little, there's lots of research nowadays about how it'll affect your brain. And if you sleep too much, then it's equally detrimental. So yukta means try to find, when you're living in a body, make sure you're regulated. This is one of the key points for harmonizing with the modes of nature. Not too much, not too little. We can be more prominently in sattva, and we can cultivate it. It becomes more of our nature. And of course, we're born, everyone is born with a certain nature also. If you analyze, tiger, or I mean, I don't want to disparage tigers or anything, but they have to get a little passionate. Oh, monkeys are very passionate, but there's different kinds of monkeys. There's the rhesus monkeys. I was just with a lot of monkeys in when I was in India, and there's two prominent kinds of monkeys. One is called the rhesus. It's noticeably more calm, and if you like, I saw a woman wanted to feed the monkeys, and she was carrying a huge bunch of bananas. And when the rhesus monkeys saw that, she held out a banana, and they said, "No, not one. I want the whole batch." And they came after her. Whereas the rhesus monkeys, they're the ones with the really long tails, and they're very stately looking. And if you offer a banana, they'll go, "Thank you very much." They'll accept the banana, they'll peel it, and they'll eat it like they're in a different mode. And this is something that's uh, in humans too. We're born and carry over from our last life. We adopt, our senses are custom made according to the consciousness that we developed in our last life. So we may come into a body with a little more rajas or a little more tamas or a little more sattva naturally. But while we're in this body, whatever it is, we need those, but we need them in balance. And we can also, and most beneficial for us, is to cultivate the sattva gun. This is something that is very specifically mentioned, not just in Bhagavad Gita, but also in Srimad Bhagavatam, is that you should find out what the modes are. You should find out how to cultivate sattva, and you should try to adjust your habits, your lifestyle, so that you can have more sattva. And that even from that perspective, you can find that balance even better when you're more affected by sattva. It's a better mode. It's a better mode to be in. But we do need rajas and tamas, as you just mentioned. Thanks, Charles.
We have a few more on the chat, as well as we've got a couple of hands raised. So go ahead, Amit.
Hare Krishna. I have a question. So I'm finding I'm having to choose between two groups who like and dislike different aspects of what is true to me, and I don't know what would be the sattvic way, because it, regardless of which path I choose, I feel like I need to hide a certain aspect of my identity to fit in.
Well, welcome to the material world. There's a lot we have to do to. This is acknowledged in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a conversation between Narada and Vasudeva, and Narada Muni, who's the teacher, recognizes that at certain stages of your life, you may have compromised situations. And here's the advice he gives. For instance, if let's say you're employed somewhere, and Narada says, in these situations, or also some family situations, you have to learn to go along. I mean, not in such a way that your principles or your values become compromised. You don't have to do that, but because you have to work. For instance, he actually says this. It's written in Sanskrit, but it's translated as, they say this, and you go, "Yes, sir. Very good, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, right away." And then you do your duty in that compromised situation, because, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, every endeavor we make in this world has some fault. And he compares it to fire. Fire is one of the most necessary elements that we interact with every day, but it has smoke. So he said every endeavor we make in this world has some sort of fault. So what he's advising is look towards the good in it and the principle of it, and don't become waylaid by the anomaly, because you can't find utopia here in this material world. There's always going to be some little lingering part that didn't work out. So you have to, that's part of learning to balance in the world, is to get along with, work around those situations. Subhanga Prabhu, go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's I like one thing that you said about adjusting our lives so that it's more sattvic in nature. And in the last 4 years, I have figured out that I am sattvic only in solidarity. The moment I engage with the external world because of its competitive nature, or because people, when I'm sattvic, mostly people get more aggressive and tend to take off things that I have accumulated as mine. And while I need the basic necessities to still survive in this world and keep those things still as mine, I'd have to engage in sattvic or rajasic activities to protect what's mine, and and not be completely devoid of anything at all. Uh, so what is your recommendation in maintaining, is it okay to get out of sattvic nature at that time when I'm engaging with people who are not, because the nature of the world is not sattvic? What is your recommendation and how I would navigate such a situation where the world puts me in a position of being unable to be sattvic, but I can't be always in isolation?
Yeah, this is the conundrum in the Bhagavad Gita also. And Krishna's advising Arjuna to fight. It's a highly rajasic activity, going to war. It's clamorous. You have to really get up for it. It's like athletes, they have to, get in a high state of rajas to get on the field and bash into each other. But to speak of killing each other on a battlefield. So rajas is there. The principle in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna advocates for is to, at least he's telling Arjuna that stay in your duty. So there's a mantra, and Krishna mentioned it earlier. That is the Krishna who's on this Zoom call. He said, "Be methodical but dispassionate." So there's a way to deal with the world, even in sattva, even as you enter into the rajasic world, and that's methodically. Means that you have to do your due diligence. But you can do it and at the same time be dispassionate. You can also there's a story about how a snake became a spiritual practitioner and a disciple of this really powerful sage named Narada. And then when people found out that he was sattvic and nonviolent, then they came looking for him, throwing rocks, sticks, and things like that. So he came to Narada and said, his teacher, his guru, and he said, "Now what do I do?" He said, "In those cases, you can show your teeth and scare them away, but you don't have to bite." And in a similar way, when we go out necessarily to deal with whatever we have to deal with, because you can't just let it sit, you have to sign those papers and you have to be on time and all these types of things you have to deal with. And as you're alluding to, you may have to ward off those who would usurp your property. There is a way in which you can attend to that, but internally you can remain dispassionate. And even if you do show your teeth, there's a difference between using your anger and losing it. And you have to be very subtle to understand the difference, because most people, they become angry, and that's really a flare-up of rajas. And it ruins everything. It ruins the relationship. But if you use your anger, if you're dispassionate actually, and you show your, you display some, you're demonstrative about making your point, but you do it in sattva, it's amazing that it comes off effectively, and it's also nonviolent at the same time. It's a great art of living, and that's what Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. That's what I mentioned before, enlightened engagement with the world. Yes, you do have to raise your teeth, because what if somebody comes to burn your house down? It's not like we say, yeah, fine, no problem, I'm in sattva, just have at it. Or if somebody tries to attack somebody you love, you have to show your teeth. But you can, there you go, Yasmin, thanks a lot. Like that. I could have just used emojis this whole time. Anyway, there's that, and I'll save a little time because I'm some things at the end. But Theus has a point, and then I'll end with a few practices that we probably already know, but it's always good reminders about how they're sattva inducing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an important practical question. Theus, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for your talk. It's so nice. I have a question about when you mentioned that we can do too much or too little of sleeping, eating, and trying to keep things regulated. How do we know when it's too little or too much, considering that we're all in different bodies and different needs? How is there a formula? When is too much or too little?
Well, you can always, I mean, there's so much science nowadays about how to take care of your body. It's amazing how much science there is. And you can go online anywhere, ask ChatGPT, it'll tell you in 4 seconds exactly how to make your diet perfect. Tell ChatGPT how much you weigh, what kind of diet you're on, and how many calories. They'll know he or she, I don't know what it is, but mine seems to have a male voice, will tell you exactly what to eat. It'll give you a meal plan. Say, you want a meal plan? Sure. I mean, that's practical. It's a machine. You have to take care of it. Food is fuel. If you look at it like that, not to become a boring stick in the mud if you go out with people and you're eating is like, no, it's just fuel. But there's an aesthetic factor to it too. But yes, you can figure that out, what's balanced. For instance, if you just eat carbs all day long, there's going to be there's a science to it. It's going to get stored as visceral fat. And, if you don't get enough protein when you get old, you're going to have sarcopenia and you're going to lose your lean muscle mass. And so you just have to figure it out, just like sleep. Sleep is a science, and there's so much research into it nowadays. There's books written specifically about sleep, and you have to sleep deeply. Make sure it's completely dark. Get to bed early-ish, and get up early, and make sure that you're really soundly asleep. Don't take stimulants. Don't take alcohol. These kinds of things, they disturb the rhythms of the body. So those are things you can find out. It's a mundane science. Even Ayurveda and other things talks about exactly how to time things, how to take the best out of the day. That's all in the Vedas too, and that's part of a sattvic lifestyle. My teacher, Prabhupada, he was meticulous about the time he would eat and how he would walk afterwards and everything. He was in his 80s, when he started traveling extensively. So he was careful about those things. Did that help?
Yes, it did. I mean,
Okay, I was thinking, I hope it's not too practical.
no, it is. It's good to be practical. I appreciate because sometimes my mind goes for other things. There's like spiritual formulas for what is too much or too little, but it sometimes is important to be practical. Yeah.
It is. And nowadays it's amazing how much biodata you can get. Everyone's into it. There's DexaFit. You can go down there and figure out what your resting heart rate is, how much oxygen is being used, and how much it's burning fat, and this and that. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's the most amazing gift we've been given, this machine that does so much for us. And it's like if somebody gave you a Ferrari or something like that, and or let's say you know, a $40 million racehorse, and you fed it, you know, Fruit Loops or Cheerios for breakfast or something like that. You know, you get at the if you have a $40 million racehorse, you're going to feed it right. So consider how valuable your body is. Figure out the formula how to take care of it. Let's go to Sattva practices for 500, JM. This is the daily double. Sattva practices in number 6, window. I just mentioned a few here because these are attainable. They're within reach. And a little bit goes a long way. Don't try to boil the ocean. Just try to do what you can with what you have right now, because it's really hard to break out of these modes immediately. You have to be really patient and think long term. But one thing is trending towards waking up early. Early, what does it mean? At least before the sun, so that you're there for the sunrise and the sun hits you in the eyes. You got to keep your eyes open for the sunrise and be there for it. That's really important. People miss it because of artificial light these days. Eat clean. This whole science, we just talked a little bit about that, but the cleanest kind of food you can eat is food that was cooked with consciousness and offered as a sacrament before you eat it. And that's a whole part of bhakti yoga that is joyful, is cooking for a higher cause, offering it to Krishna. And then mantra meditation. I'm doing, for my own purification and knowledge, a lot of research about sound and how it works and how the mantras work, and writing something about it. And sound creates the universe. You can think of the ways in which we manifest in the world comes from sound. The thoughts that we have are subtle, but they come up through the different chakras into our voice box, and then we express them externally, and they start to manifest because they grossify in the world. So mantra meditation is the way. If you ever wanted an undo button to press to get undo all the things that you wish you didn't have to do, or that you feel like you're a slave to, mantra meditation is for you. And then the wisdom literatures, for instance, Bhagavad Gita, it's one of the most commonsensical, non-fanatical religious literatures in the world that presents the idea of who we are scientifically. And if you read that regularly, it's a prescription that if you read it regularly, you get your mind right. You want to get your mind right. And the last one, which I can't see on my screen, probably because I have some obstruction here, but it's to do service. Service for service. If you practice serving somewhere where you're not expecting remuneration, or even if you are taking remuneration because you're working somewhere, think of it more as service than as, you know, this is my way of conquering the world. Service for service. When you get in service mind, you naturally come to sattva. And then, of course, sattva is not the ultimate. It's just it's the jumping off place. It's the point of departure into the spiritual realm. But you have to get to sattva first, sattvam yad brahmadarshanam, from that position. But the good news, all the anomalies that we have are treatable. Don't you love that when somebody can prescribe something? I didn't put my hand up. I just went like this. And sometimes I go like this, and magic happens. So uh, you can come to sattva gradually, and if you find a practice that I mentioned there, especially chanting mantra, and cleaning up diet and things like that, a little at a time, then it makes everything much more clear. And then from there, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you want to get really spiritual, you're in a really good place to do it from there. And you're not going to be obstructed so much by the tyranny of the senses, which are clawing at you like bad, so like a bad dream or something like that. So it's just been a delight being with you all tonight. So many great questions, and thanks for giving your pristine attention to the topic and for so many smiles and hearts and everything like that. And it's amazing what we're doing here, just having a little time to think about what's what. So I'm grateful. Yes, James, go ahead.
Just take a minute. I do want to welcome back Parasto. She has joined after us a long time. So thank you, Parasto, for joining.
I was thinking deja vu all over again. Great to see you.
It's so good to see you.
Like
Thank
the
you.
old days.
I really was like,
Remember the old days?
yes. I was thinking from confusion to clarity. I need that. Let me come and be a part of this Sangha. So thank you, JM. Thank you, Vaisheshika Prabhu. So grateful to everyone here.
Thank you. And I also wanted to welcome, I think, Heidi. She has come for the first time. So welcome, Heidi. Thanks for joining us. Hope you liked it.
I did. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a gift. I received the books at a farmer's market from a couple of monks. And 3 years later, I mean, I've been reading them and yeah, first time to join, but it's been great. I plan to be back. So thank you.
Is it Heidi or Haiti?
Haiti, I prefer. Yeah.
Haiti, okay. That's a very sattvic environment to get a book into, farmer's market.
Yeah, and really a coincidence. Synchronicity, coincidence. It was really nice.
I love that word, and that's one of the most amazing parts about the spiritual journey is the synchronicity, the serendipity, and it's just a mystical path. We take 1 inch forward, and then Krishna takes a million steps towards us. So thank you very much, Haiti, for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you. Thanks, JM, for keeping the lights on and keeping us all going. We're all grateful to you for keeping this forum vibrant. And thanks, everybody. Now, there is a joyful way to say goodbye, and we find it prevalent high in the Himalayas. The yogis who live in caves and spend their time meditating, they come out for fruits and roots. And when they see one another on the high peaks of the Himalayas, they have a way of not only greeting, but always also saying goodbye. They put their arms high in the air and they say, Hari Bol, keep the vibration going. Shall we try it? I'm doing it. Hari Bol!
Hari Bol!
Hari Bol! Everybody, see you